Chris Cody isn't in with us today. But if he was in with us today, he would have asked aloud, "How's this going?" About 7 times during that interview. And there's a lot that went wrong with that interview. A lot. It was awkward. I was nearing a point where I was just going to wave both my arms over my head and surrender, saying, "Let's just restart this." But I think it was far more memorable the way that it was. But if I could deconstruct where we went wrong, so many ways we went wrong. I'll limp in first. I think it was the first question. The first question was disastrous. It's just an awful question that puts our guests in such a terrible spot. The Daily Show had just made an announcement that they were going to rock with correspondence for a little bit, so he has to answer this question on the heels of that, and it's a weird way to start an interview with a funny man. Dan, your immediate thoughts?
I thought that interview and everything that happened in that 12 minutes, that in 2.5 years, since before freedom, there has never been anything that we have sunk into that I have more wanted afterward for Stugotz to jump into my arms like a baboon and celebrate. There's our show right there. A speedboat takes and an awkward moment with a comedian. I have missed our show so much, and I wanted Stugotz. I wanted to hold him, cradle him in my arms because of how much I loved how awkward that was.
I'm heavier now, just so you know.
Yeah. That is correct.
Yeah.
So I, from a technical standpoint, yes, knowing how difficult it's been to pull things off, I would like to say a marvelous technical achievement for us.
So that was a W then. Is
Yeah,
what you guys
a
got
big
there.
W.
Not a lot of shows doing live speedboat hits.
Or maybe a draw.
I am totally with Dan. I thought it was a great segment. It was uncomfortable. I think our audience will love it. And for the most part, I think that because they haven't experienced that kind of sloppiness in a couple of years. Yeah.
When you say they'll love it, I think they'll initially hate it.
Yes,
And
of
then-
course.
And
Yeah,
then
so?
once we've been able to change the narrative about, hey, look at us, we pulled something off. Who cares if it was good or bad? We did it. And you were with us that entire pirate phase. This is a massive achievement. The signal held the entire time. Now, Taylor was also bad.
Oh, I mean,
That's part of
nice.
that's part of the problem. But I don't want to blame him.
Yeah.
Part of the problem.
Well,
it
he
was
asked
a
about the
perfect
Chiefs.
segment. Don't put anything on Taylor.
Taylor-
Chiefs Bills.
He asked about Chiefs Bills.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, okay.
And he did tell him that he never watched The Daily Show and doesn't like it. It's not
I
for
love
him or
you,
whatever
but
he
you know
said.
I never watch you do your job.
I was trying to mentally prepare myself to be the voice of positivity here and be like, guys, I think maybe if we give this some room, it wasn't as bad as we thought. But seems like you don't need it. Seems like you guys are very happy with how that went. So
Well, but happy with how poorly it went.
Yes.
Not happy with how well it went.
I felt alive.
Right? I felt like I, too, was in a cigarette boat at 100 miles an hour. But let's talk to Lucy and Roy about this. Yes, you guys sank into your shame like the audience did.
Yes, always do. I was just quiet because Ronnie's not going to remember me from that. I'm good. He's going to remember all you guys.
It was a disaster, but everybody's going to love it.
I
I thought it was a really bad interview that we were really poor in.
Yup.
Yes. Yeah.
You're not talking about me, though.
Agreed.
No,
No,
you did.
that one would fall to me.
You lived up to expectations.
Thank you. Yes.
That
Set the
one-
bar low.
That one would fall to me. That is my responsibility. I am not arguing on behalf of it being a good interview. I'm arguing on it being a bombardment of stimuli that included a cigarette boat and a degree of difficulty that we didn't execute well necessarily, but that we had the balls to try to execute it.
It doesn't happen without your first clunky, terrible
That's correct.
question. Yes.
Again, though,
Yeah,
there was
so
Thank you, Dan.
Yes,
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Dan.
you.
Thank you, Dan.
Excellence is my calling card. Yes, you're welcome. Nowhere else in media will you find something done quite that poorly, aggressively, and with more resources.
State of comedy discussions have gone so well for us over these last few months that
Yeah.
I don't blame you for asking a comedian about it.
I
You
wasn't-
never do that.
I
You
wasn't
never
ju-
have the opportunity
I wasn't
to.
just asking, though. I was asking, when has he ever been asked that while we interrupt him incessantly with someone going 100 miles an hour on a speedboat?
Right. The music was a winner because it's a funny device to introduce
So you
Taylor.
did your job
No,
well?
Taylor actually grabbed the music, so I think this is a wonderful launch to Taylor's swift report. There's a lot of things that we can do differently
Yes.
learn from them. But the
Including-
fact that we achieved actually getting this on
But
the air
this
is
you
good.
you understand that this is building to him jumping out of a plane swiftly, him
Yes.
going in a car swiftly.
yeah, just
Yes,
all things swiftly.
that's right. And giving takes falling out of an airplane or a helicopter, like before you hit the water.
What makes you think he wants to do that?
I can see that he's
Does
already
he want a
settled
career?
in.
Does he want a
why does-
career or not?
Taylor, why do you have a microphone? Like, you want to talk some more?
If you want me to.
How do you feel like all of that went?
I think you got us off on the wrong foot. I don't want to blame you by any stretch of the imagination.
That seems like good for your
Jesus.
career.
But-
That seems like a good move.
Jesus.
I was trying to get us back on track
Right,
with some
right.
sports questions. He didn't seem like he wanted to answer the comedy question, so that's why I went back
Right.
to the.
Chiefs Bills.
And
yeah.
then I
Right.
messed up.
A game that happened
again,
already.
Hand up.
Yeah.
Hand up.
All right, thank you for taking accountability after blaming the founder of the company for that. But let's.
I've had athletes tell us, you guys want to talk about sports? I've never had a non-athlete want us to pivot the discussion to sport.
yeah.
Can I pitch an idea for the segment? Oh, God. Taylor Swiffer. And he just goes around and uses a Swiffer kind of cleaning things
We can
up.
sponsor that.
Yeah.
Are you listening?
Jeremy, what was your favorite part of that interview?
I think it was when he said, "Why get one bad answer when you can have two?" Yeah, that was great.
I'm going to play my favorite part from this interview now.
Your first question?
No, well,
Oh,
no. My favorite part is the general awkwardness in the dismount of whether or not he would. The place that I blew it is I didn't say "talk to you tomorrow" like I did with Doliak at the end when it was so clear that he
wasn't
would.
the place.
He wouldn't. That was the place. Let's hear this part. Video. Do you have that ready? Let's just hear the dismount where he clearly isn't coming back on with us again. Well, we're going to have you on again and do it right and do it better without someone on a speedboat. Okay. So if you would do us the courtesy of doing it again because I botched the first 6 minutes of this. Maybe not. Sure. Maybe not.
Doesn't sound promising.
Doesn't sound
tell us no
promising.
thanks.
It doesn't
Cool,
sound.
we
Yeah, I
understand.
don't blame you if you don't. But thank you
Probably
for
lost
this.
you with the first question.
Yes, I did lose you with the first question.
It was right after that you wanted to hug me.
Let's run it back. From
Right
the-
there,
yeah.
right there. Look,
Let's run
I
it back
wanted
from
to
the very
jump. I
beginning.
wanted to jump into Stugotz's arms in the middle of that response.
You've gotten heavier too.
Yeah, can we run it back from the very beginning? There's one thing I want to relive when Dan's about to ask him, have you back? And before he gets an answer out, his initial visceral reaction is to shake his head no as soon as he's hearing this. One more time, please.
Well, we're going to have you on again and do it right and do it better without someone on a speedboat. Okay, so if you would do us the courtesy of doing it again because I botched the first 6 minutes of this. Maybe not.
Sure.
Maybe not.
Doesn't sound promising.
Doesn't sound
Tell us no
promising. It
thanks.
doesn't sound. Yeah, I don't.
He did it twice.
We'll have him on tomorrow, right?
No.
I'm going to repair it. I'm going to spend my time off air repairing it. He will be on back again tomorrow.
Mike, it's a great observation. I've never seen a person shaking their head no while saying sure.
Let me see it again, please. I want to watch. Lucy, how do you feel about everything that we're watching back right now? Well, we're going to have you on again and do it right and do it better without someone on a speedboat, okay? So if you would do us the courtesy of doing it again because I botched the first 6 minutes of this. Maybe not.
Sure.
Maybe not.
You want Ronnie to like you. Yeah. I can tell because you just said, I'm going to fix this. Let me tell you something. He never wants to hear from you. Don't reach out to the man. Just take this L. He won't be your friend. He's not. You're not going to fix it. You're going to make it worse.
I don't think I am. I think I'm going to repair it. What would you guys like to bet?
That you can repair the relationship with Ronnie?
Let me tell you something. If this ends with another Ronnie interview, we all lose.
I don't believe that. I believe he's a very funny man.
Not because of Ronnie, though.
He was
Because
actively.
Dan's going to ask another bad first question.
Yeah, but Dan
What
was
was the
happy. I was happy. We've been kind of, going through the weeds for 2 years, and we found something that felt like our show from like 4 years ago. I don't know. I was looking at Dan differently. I got to be honest. I wanted to hug him.
It was new again.
Yeah, you want more opportunities to be bad.
Yes.
Okay.
Roy, what are your feelings about this?
Don't do this again.
Why?
Just
He
not-
means
You don't want us to be happy?
He means
I mean,
talking to microphones.
yeah,
Just
just
stop
stop
it.
talking.
I am a big fan of this guy for a number of reasons. Stugotz, I would say that the first 8 minutes of the newsroom that he delivers, I don't know how long he practiced it, but it was mesmerizing and as good a piece of television as I've ever seen. Him doing meticulous Aaron Sorkin's work, and I've been told that Aaron Sorkin does not allow a lot of edits to what he's doing, and just crushed it. As good an opening to a season of television that I've ever seen, and he's got a whole lot of other stuff on his resume. But what he wants to talk about, because I'm sure he talks about that stuff all the time.
He's beaming right now.
Yeah. Is that he is a Detroit Lions fan. And my God, he has been a loser for such a long time. And now he is a winner. Look at him. Radiant. Look at him. Jeff, tell me what's going on in your soul right now, how you're dying during games. That at the end of that Rams game, I am certain you yourself right in the living room.
Yeah, down the leg. No, it was in my soul, pure unadulterated joy. It's just, we've never ever felt like this in Detroit, and decades of darkness and all of that. So it is beyond just, oh, we're in it again, oh, we're contending again. We never do. And so this is an entire city and state that's just levitating.
Explain to me, though, what it's been to care about this team for as long as you've cared about it. Explain to me the roots of your fandom and what a jerk you felt like falling in love with this team for so many years and hoping.
Well, I go back to the 60s. I remember my favorite Lion was a wide receiver named Gail Cogdill. And, quarterbacks like Milt Plum, Night Train Lane.
Childhood.
Roger Brown, Alex Karras, Wayne Walker, Joe Schmidt, all those guys. That's where I kind of grew up. And, and you stay with them because they're your team. And you just, the experience to go around the country and, run into Tom Brady fans who are, going for their fifth Super Bowl or something, is it was humiliating. It was decades of darkness. And then there was the curse of Bobby Lane. We had to deal with, is that a real thing? I mean, what's going on here? And then all of that has gone away.
Can you explain to me the curse of Bobby Lane?
Well, apparently in 1957, the Lions won their last the NFL championship. And right off the bat, 2 games into the next season, they traded Bobby to Pittsburgh. And Bobby was instrumental. He's the quarterback. He was also a gunslinger. He was a drinker. He was a brawler. He was, it was a different era. And the Lions were tired of it, and they traded him to Pittsburgh. And on his way out of the locker room back there in 58, he said, this franchise will never win for 50 years. And some people say he never said it. Other people say that he did, but it sure looked like it. And 50 years was an underestimation of how long it would take for us to feel like this again. But, I have a feeling the curse is broken.
Be careful with that. Let's because they've tried to break it before. Jeff tried to with Peyton Manning. Let's play the video and have Jeff Daniels narrate what's happening here. Let's play the video of Jeff and Peyton Manning trying, allegedly, to break the curse of Bobby Lane.
Am I on drugs? Trust me, Jeff. Google curse-breaking spell, and you'll come up with this. Fill a tub with 100 cups of water and a cup of salt.
Doesn't smell like water.
Because it's whiskey. Bobby Lane would have preferred that.
If this stuff really works, why didn't you use it to put a hex on the Patriots?
Belichick's dark magic was just too strong.
Why the is there a bathtub in the end zone of Ford Field?
Did you break it there? I don't feel like you broke it there. I don't feel like you should be.
Well, when it's broken. Do we have to win the Super Bowl? Maybe. All right. In that case, it's a work in progress. But it's definitely trending in the right direction, because once that aired a year ago, October, a year and a half ago, apparently we've gone 22-8. And usually it was the other way around. So it's a work in progress. That's for sure.
When is the last time or any time the Lions have felt close to this for you?
Has to be Wayne Fonts.
Not even then.
Really?
No, not like this. Not like, the Tigers in '84 or the Red Wings, them they won the cup after 42, 44 years. That's what this is times two, because it's been so long. No, I have never felt this, not in my lifetime, not with the Lions.
Can you explain to me what it means to have this as part of your regional identity in Detroit, and what it means to the city of Detroit, and what do you think is happening all around you in Detroit?
Well, we've always been, we live in flyover country, and they fly over us for a reason, because they don't want to be around us, or they want to get to the coast. They want to get to where the more important, bigger, all that stuff. So there's always been kind of this inferiority complex that ends up being a chip on our shoulder. But, we haven't done anything. And in the case of the Lions, we haven't done anything. So we've done a lot so far, but what this would do for us is, just people from this part of the country to be able to walk around and go, no, I'm from Detroit. I'm from Detroit. And it's not a negative thing. It's not something to be considered inferior by the coasts. So that's always been in the air. And this is one way that at least people in this corner of the country can put an end to that, at least temporarily.
That's pretty interesting, the weight that you're putting on that, right? That to be from Detroit, to be from Detroit is something negative unless you win 2 more football games.
Well, just ask anybody who's, thinks of Detroit and all of that. It's always been less. Motown and all of that, and the Motor City and all of that, but it's not New York, it's not LA, and it's certainly not Dallas, so this is a statement. This team is making a statement about more than just football. Yep.
Jeff, what was your initial reaction when the team signed Dan Campbell to be their head coach?
Well, we had been through a few of them, but you don't know. You hope, and he comes into it, and he's full of passion, and he's played the game. You at least going in know that he's going to be a player's coach. He's going to be somebody who knows what they're growing through at every moment from training camp to the end of the season. He knows. And sometimes that's really a good thing. And with Dan, you kind of hoped it would be, and it turned out it has been, because these guys will, run through a wall for this guy.
Who have you fallen in love with on the team? Dan Campbell, the players?
Thanks for clarifying that.
Well, it's hard to, certainly Goff's story is a great story. I tell you what, I've fallen in love with the offensive line. Stafford left town because he never had any time. He'd get back there and plant, and he's getting hit. And I'm in love with that offensive line, because when they're all on the field together, it's Mount Rushmore. It's really hard to get through those guys. So, those would be the guys I'd fallen in love with.
Who have you fallen in love with who's not on the team? Anyone?
Yeah, my wife.
You are, exactly.
44 years. Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Stugotz.
Yep.
Yeah, thanks.
For me, it's Abby.
Thanks. We appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
You're working on season 2 of American Rust. What is it that you need or want the audience to know about what you're trying to do there? Because at this point, Jeff Daniels, I'm imagining, is only taking projects that are inspirations and creatively invigorating to him.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm looking for challenge. I'm looking for things where I can risk failure, things I haven't done. And American Rust is one of those. I had never done one of those kind of true crime, kind of darker, storylines. And it's set in Pittsburgh. They're going to release seasons 1 and 2. And I really like the writing in it. Adam Rapp and Danny Futterman and some other people really, did a really great job setting it up in season 1, and then season 2, it really starts to, get even darker. So it was a lot of fun to do. I know that.
Do you keep up with Jim Carrey? Because he's one of the most fascinating entertainers I've ever seen, and what he's doing with this part of his career is also interesting to me. I'm curious of your vantage point of who he is as an artist.
Jim's a friend, and still is, and I communicate with him occasionally. You know, we keep in touch, and he's, you know, besides being a comedic genius, and that's who you're sitting next to when you're in Dumb and Dumber. You're sitting with someone who is those 3 jokes ahead of you, or when he starts to, there's such a precision to what Jim does as a comedian or as a comic actor, or when he's just doing comedy. He's very serious about the execution of it. And it was a pleasure to kind of bounce off him, because that was all I did in Dumb and Dumber, was react to Lloyd. Harry reacts to Lloyd. When we're going into a room, Lloyd's going to go in first, you know? And so I'm trailing him like a puppy on a leash. And that was fun, because you're bouncing off somebody who's just giving you so much. Now, you know what he is? He's an artist. You said it. And I think at the end of the day, we all hope for that we have a body of work that isn't just one thing. And Jim is certainly proving that with his artwork that he's doing. And, you know, he's really good. He's really good. And he takes it very seriously as he did his work as an actor.
How often do you use the word genius talking about your contemporaries? Because I believe you're describing him accurately, and you've worked with a few. I think Sorkin is in that realm, but how many people would you assign that designation to?
Aaron's another one. They have this kind of savant thing going on where they go and they do what they're going to do, and then something in them takes over and takes it further. And they wait for that to happen. I think Aaron does that as a writer. He gets in the room, shuts the door, and waits for the magic. And with Aaron, it comes. Jim's the same way. It's an overused term, and I don't use it very often. And it's more, for me, it's more of a, it takes several decades to earn a you know, moniker like that. And so longevity has to be a consistency of a body of work has to be there, you know, for anybody to consider anybody, that kind of thing. We're real quick to say how awesome somebody is or what a genius somebody is. And, you know, they're 29.
All right, pop quiz. Airport, gunman with 1 hostage. He's using her for cover.
You left out hot
He's
shot.
almost to a plane. You're 100 feet away. What do you do?
What do you do?
Shoot the hostage.
Yes.
Right?
I mean,
It was in the script.
You talk about these geniuses. Are you ever in awe? You seem like a very confident actor. You've done an amazing amount of experienced work. Are you ever intimidated when across from somebody?
There were decades where that was certainly, you know, something that you had to get over. Working with Meryl Streep, you know, meeting De Niro. I did To Kill a Mockingbird on Broadway, and there's Robert De Niro walking in the dressing room. It's just, yeah, you pinch yourself. If you're working with somebody like that, then you over prepare. It's not unlike football. It's not unlike being an athlete. It's all about the preparation. And in order to get over, whether it's nervousness or stage fright or I'm not good enough or insecurity or just can you rise up? You know, the 2-minute drive at the end of the game. Can you do it? The 41-yard field goal. Can you hit it with a minute to go? It's the moment. It's why Elway was so incredible. You give him the ball and he drives it. Patrick Mahomes, same way. I mean, can you rise up to the moment? And you want to be one of those guys. And for me, whether it's they put a camera and it's you and Meryl Streep or Jim Carrey and we're going to do comedy, you better be ready. And if you're ready, then the intimidation goes away, because now it's, in my world, it's playing tennis. It's back and forth with somebody who's really good and you're able to return serve.
Season 2 of American Rust is coming soon to Amazon Freevee, and A Man in Full will be on Netflix before long. At the risk of being a little bit like Stugotz, if the Lions win, you will come on with us again and we will talk about it. Is there any possibility of that? Because I would like to talk to you more and there was not enough time.
There would be a possibility of that, yes.
Okay, so let's see. We will put that away, and I look forward to hopefully talking to Jeff Daniels because they have upset the San Francisco 49ers in the single greatest moment.
He doesn't want to hear that right now. You're getting ahead of yourself,
in
man.
Detroit Lions football history. He will be coming on with us if they produce the single greatest feeling in the history of Jeff Daniels' Detroit Lions career. It seems like a small price to pay.
You said it, I didn't. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, sir. We appreciate it. Thank you for the time.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff.
We've got a Stanley Cup update worth getting to that we'll do so in a moment with Stugotz. But one of the things from football I enjoyed so much this weekend, because a lot of people were arguing at the end of the Tampa-Detroit game that Tampa's got to call its last timeout, got to make Detroit kick a field goal, because all of you have seen so many games end with a field goal being blocked and returned for a touchdown in those situations that Tampa Bay wasted a timeout. But one of the other conversations that has led to Greg Olson and Mike Wilbon arguing and Mina's explaining basic math.
Are you referencing the end of that Tampa-Detroit Lions game, Dan?
I am. A lot of math being done, arguing being done,
That
fun
was
being
a
had.
heart-racing moment, the end of that game, wasn't it?
That explains
Yes, it was.
Guys, did you know that your heart attack risk can more than double when your home team plays? Learn more and assess your heart risk factors at checkyourheartrisk.com. Brought to you by Bayer Aspirin, the official sponsor of Fans' Hearts.
Detroit fans got elevated. Their 99-year-old fan got elevated because at the end of the game, they were trusting Dan Campbell with math. They were trusting.
You know, I was noticing that at the end of the game, and I think it's playing well on social media, Dan, about how Todd Bowles could have forced a long field goal there. I thought what was happening there was very clearly just a silent agreement between two head coaches. Like, you're snapping the ball early because you know I'm not going to take this timeout, because this only exists on the internet because Detroit was snapping the ball early. And I think there might have been, and I don't know if the head coach has been asked about this, a little like handshake across the sideline, little gamesmanship, like
little nod. Yeah.
We don't have to play this out, like we know how it ends. We're all good.
Have you also found, that's interesting, I hadn't heard that. Have you also found interesting, or as I have, Stugotz, you're anti-analytics. Greg Cody's not here today. Hopefully he'll be feeling better, maybe come around tomorrow. But you're anti-analytics, and Wilbon, for many years now on television, has been spouting, I like to be math ignorant. You guys stop it. I trust my gut. I know what I know. Football is football. And Tampa went for a 2-point conversion. Again, Mina has explained the math on this. The math is pretty self-explanatory. Teams have been doing this all year in these situations when they're down 2 touchdowns and they score. Mm-hmm. You go for 2 because just the math says that's what you do. That's the greatest of the probabilities.
Yep.
But a lot of people are flipping out because they want their football the way that it's been. They don't want change that comes with math. And they're saying, trust your coach in his gut.
Yeah, I understand that because this is very new, and the way that it's become so accepted has probably put people like Mike Wilbon off, because this is a very quick, sudden sea change where the rule is if you're down 14, you go for 2. The thought behind it is, and a lot of people, Mike Wilbon included, like to make an extra point 100% probability. It's never been that. In today's NFL, it certainly isn't that. So you're just playing a numbers game. If it's 52% chance success rate, and that can vary from team to team. Certainly varies if you decide to throw a goal line fade like Tampa decided to do.
Right.
You realize that you have 2 chances at getting this 14-point total. And if you get the 2-point conversion on the first one, then you just kick the extra point, and now you've gone from a game-tied scenario to you leading this game.
Stugotz, so the math is super simple on this, but people hate math. They just hate math.
Well, no, I think people are fine with math, but you can't just trust the math every single time. Like, Dan, if you're a coach, if you've coached at any level, you know, like occasionally, hey, there has to be a feel for the game. What does my team need? Is this the wrong time to do this? What should I do? And occasionally, you have to go away from the numbers and trust your gut as a coach.
Fair enough, Stugotz. But in this case, these are simple probabilities. Like, you can object to the play call and that they failed to get the 2-point conversion because it was a play call. But what they're doing there is just playing the probabilities of mathematicians have done the very simple math, and your chances are better when you're down 14 in this situation going for the 2-point conversion first. Fine. You disagree with it. You don't like math. You end up sounding like Michael Wilbon does here, stubborn and strident about, I know what I know. You failed. I get to win the argument because you failed.
The 2-point conversion attempt that left them 8 down. Don't start me with the 2-point conversions. And the analytics say go for it. Do the analytics say go for it no matter who's going for it? So if you and I were on the field, the analytics say go for it. It's the stupidest, laziest, lamest thing I've ever heard for reasoning in competition. And I hate when announcers just buy it without questioning it. The analytics say go for it.
There is an element of shouting at clouds on this one. And Greg Olson, we can agree, Stugotz, that Greg Olson is very smart about how he's analyzing football, correct?
Yes. Yep, he's excellent.
And people would agree that Greg Olson, the way he's breaking down games, he has become a breakout broadcasting star, at least in part, because he educates in small windows. So Greg Olson comes after Wilbon with this. This is just further proof how vital it is that announcers continue to educate the viewers on the current approach to NFL football. It isn't announcers being lazy. It's the way the game is being played, and it's here to stay. The game evolves. Not sure why people push back.
This is not an example, though, where I think I would kind of go against the numbers because even not making that 2-point conversion, as Mike pointed out, Bucs still down 8, still have a chance if they stop the Lions, come back, get 6, and then follow it up with a 2-point conversion. It's when coaches feel the need to go for it on 4th down every single time and jeopardize their team's chances of winning a game.
Again, though, Stugotz, and I would just say this blanketly. What are you making that sound
Well,
for?
just in watching that game, there's plenty of plays that really impacted win probability. But I think back to a missed opportunity for Tampa when they had a 4th and 1 inside their own 40, and Todd Bowles, who's defense first, as the announcers said, Todd Bowles knows how he wants to play this football game and how he wants it to play out. I kind of look at that decision to not go for it as something that hugely impacted the Bucs' win probability.
While playing against Dan Campbell, who does that more recklessly than anybody. Yeah. He believes in the idea. I have confidence in my offense. I have confidence in my team. 4th down, I'm not scared of you.
Yeah, they had a 4th down conversion in that game that helped salt the game away. So I saw 2 coaches, and granted these happen. It's not a fully good faith argument because one happened still in the first half. But I saw 2 coaches approach that decision differently, and the one that was more aggressive about it ended up winning that game.
How'd it go for Brandon Staley? Because he went for it a lot, and his team questioned him a lot.
Yeah. He also made some terrible decisions.
Right.
To not take a tie when he was a head coach that cost his team a playoff spot. So it wasn't just numbers with him. There were just overall people not developing. You can't boil everything down to a single decision.
I think we're looking at this and breaking this down the wrong way because if you're going with something that has a 60% success rate, then you're really not being brave. And the guts, if you're Dan Campbell, is to really punt on it with 4th and 1 where you only have 40% success rate.
I hadn't looked at it that way. You're absolutely right.
You're making the brave choice there. When you're following the numbers, you're really not being that. You're not a maverick. You're kind of a coward.
You're choosing the more difficult path by ignoring math and dumbly and bravely going where other men don't go because the copycat mathematicians are now just following each other.
Kirk Ferentz goes there. All right, slow down.
Dan Campbell is unafraid of your team. He's unafraid of 4th down.
He's unafraid of anything.
I'd argue he's afraid.
It is amazing to see how scared football fans are of math.